Hello and welcome to the Power of Integrity podcast, where leadership aligns with principles. I am totally delighted to have Dr. Daniel Kimbley. Doctor is a founder of Nexus Family Chiropractic. He's a wonderful young man. In fact, we were just talking about his length on the planet versus my length in this industry and this profession. We have that in common, 40 years together. So, Doctor, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor. It doesn't even do it justice. So thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. I know we're going to have a wonderful conversation. Time's going to fly by and certainly going to be a treat for our audience. So, Doctor, when you think about your personal and professional journey, would you share a little bit with our audience so they know who you are, what, what paths you traversed along the way, and where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently reside in Dana Point, California. Own Nexus Family Chiropractic. My wife and I founded it 7.5 years ago now. If we go all the way back kind of to the beginning, I was a high school English teacher in Indiana where my wife and I both grew up. I did that for 6 years. And this is a longer story, so I'll kind of give you the condensed version. Is I was teaching high school English. I was really good at it. I was a head volleyball coach, avid coordinator, kind of maxed out. And I still felt like I was missing something in terms of purpose inside of my life, and a lot of darkness at that time. So I got offered a job in administration going into the summer. And the next day I quit and I decided to move to Georgia. We sold our house, we sold all our stuff. And I went to Georgia to get my doctorate in chiropractic at Life University. That's in Marietta, Georgia. And we were there for 3 years. My wife and I, when we got out of the snow, we decided there's no chance we're going back to the Midwest. And so from there, we kind of were looking at like, all right, where would we go if there was summertime and water year round? We traveled the coast of California. We had never been here before. We fell in love with Dana Point, and we just kind of made it our mission from that point forward to do whatever we needed to do while I was in school to make it happen so we could just start a practice from day one here. And here we are 7.5 years later. And I got to say, one of the biggest risks when no one really believed that it was possible for us to do it, but also probably the most rewarding decision that I've ever made outside of like having a child and growing the team at Nexus.
Isn't that interesting when we do get out over our skis a little bit, that the fun only starts at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we're here together to talk about integrity. And so when you think about it, what does the word integrity mean to you?
Yeah, I think that I love your framework in your book and the process that you walk people through in integrity. And I think that the piece that stands out to me is the alignment of the actions. So you talk about true north and then aligning actions. And I think for me, that's the most important part. So what I would call that are standards, and just a level of standards that you live by all the time, no matter what, whether you're at home, whether you're at the office, anywhere you're out in the community, and just holding yourself to that level where your actions are basically going to speak to who you are all the time, regardless of circumstance, regardless if life's great or it's not great. And really, to me, I think that alignment, it is the biggest part of just being someone who's in integrity, who's always truthful, always their true, authentic self and identity and all those things. I think you did a really good job of laying that out in the book. And that's what I love. And that it really just sticks out to me is that idea of standards.
Yes, you're echoing a few of our guests. They hit on alignment, they hit on authenticity, they hit on consistency. While you didn't use the word consistency, I'm hearing it replicating standards over and over and over again, which is consistency and constancy. And so, really interesting how you brought them all together because different guests had different terms and different words, and alignment, authenticity, and being who you are all the time, for sure. Yes, that's got to echo well both in the home as well as in the office.
Yeah, and I think that the what happens in the home is a almost a direct reflection of what will happen in the office. And so I think it's almost more important to figure out what are my standards in the home and then let those carry over, or what are my core values inside of my home and let those carry over into every other aspect. And that's been really with the clients who I coach, that's something that I walk them through. I'm like, you don't have a set of core values for your business and a set of core values at home. They should literally be the exact same thing.
Yes, that would be integral or
Yep.
integral. right? Absolutely. Yeah. We can't have it once in a while. We have to have it all the time for sure. Absolutely.
100%.
Can you share a moment where the principle of integrity played a key role in your professional journey or personal journey?
Yeah, as I think about that, there's so many places, but I would go back. So when I was in undergrad to get my teaching license, I worked at an oil change shop and I was kind of on the track to become the assistant manager. And I thought that's where I was going to cap out and I was going to be set and life was going to be golden. But I remember like my first day, I come in and my boss is like, all right, I'm going to show you how to clean the bathrooms. This is going to seem like a silly story, but I'll draw the point home. So he takes me into the bathroom and he puts on his gloves and he literally starts cleaning the toilet. And he's like, I will never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And it was like something that he didn't have to show me how to clean a toilet. Like I knew how to do it. I'm an undergrad. But it was that level of like, here's the standard that I will never ask you to do something that I won't do myself. And I'll go so far as to show you the first time just to build that trust in that relationship. And he's literally my best boss I've ever had. Manager at an oil change shop. And it was just that moment was so special to remind me, hey, wherever you go, whoever you interact with, whatever your team looks like. And I didn't know I wanted to be a business owner back then, but it's like, be willing to do whatever you ask other people to do or don't ask them to do that. And I thought it just sticks with me as like such a good example of integrity.
Yeah, Doc, you remind me of a story. Some years ago, I worked with franchisees for Wendy's. They had 50 something stores in the Mid South. And what was interesting is when I learned more about Wendy's and the franchisor and the franchisee relationship, Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, who used to be a prominent figure
Yep.
in their commercials, Dave Thomas had a mop and bucket award. He said no franchisee should operate a franchise unless they're willing to use the mop and bucket as well.
So good. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, run the cash register, the fryer, all the components, including cleaning the bathrooms.
Yep. 100%.
Isn't that
So
wild?
good.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on something that kind of you had said there was a darkness, and it's not so much the darkness, but that transformation and transition where you went to an uneasy place and made a complete switch. And in that uneasiness, it made all the difference in the world. I'd love for you to explore that, even if it's just extemporaneously and coming from the top of your head.
Yeah, of course. I think so for me, it just had to do with purpose where you can be really, really good at something, but it's not necessarily what God called you to do or what you were meant to do for the rest of your life. So, and I work with quite a few clients who experience this. They're like, I'm not happy where I'm at, but the pain of me leaving is greater than the pain of me staying where it's at. So for me, I was kind of surrounded in a world where a lot of my friends were, like wicked addictions. And I kind of realized like if I stay where I'm at, I'm going to end up just like everybody that I'm surrounded by. So for me, the pain of staying where I was at was greater. And I'm like, I have to get away from this. So the pain of staying was going to be greater than the pain of me selling my house, moving to Georgia. My wife and I had just gotten married. So we just like uprooted everything. Um, and I think that is key to just remind people to think about like if you're going to make a decision because it's seemingly hard and my parents told me it wasn't going to work out. I had mentors just tell me like chiropractic school is going to be too expensive, then you're wanting to move to California and it's even more expensive and there's no way you can do it, and then if you're going to live in a place like Dana Point, you should move more inland because then you'll be able to draw from like a bigger pool of people because the ocean's on one side, and there are all these false beliefs. But what it came down to for me is like the pain that I sat in of me realizing like, could I go the next 20 years doing this job and where would I end up? That was going to be way greater than me taking a risk to potentially like lose everything. But I gained my entire life and joy and happiness and a better marriage. And now I have the opportunity to, we have a new doc who we just hired. And I got to last 2 weeks ago, I got to pay him his biggest paycheck he's ever had in his life. And it's like, how special for me to get to be a part of that, but that would have never happened if it weren't for my decision to kind of take on something new and not just stay where I was comfortable.
Yeah, there's a book. I don't know if this title would have made it on your list of titles to read over the years because it goes back some decades. But there was a book with the title that said, "If it ain't broke, break it."
I love that.
And it was more about business and business processes. And
Yep.
if you're going to take a quantum leap or and take a real strive forward, sometimes you have to abandon what you're doing completely in order to get to those different levels, as opposed to incremental improvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
No
in
doubt
life,
about it.
yeah, and in life, that's a living example how you broke it in order to change it completely.
Yep. 100%. And it's the biggest payoff ever, like you think about investments, all of that I could have looked at like the school as debt, but it was just an investment in myself that's had unlimited return that will literally carry through to my daughter. Cause she just has a totally different lifestyle than could have ever imagined when I was a kid, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yes, the ripple effects, they do go on for eons, don't they?
yeah.
So, Doctor, tell me something. Is there a situation? Can you remember? Well, let's stay on this topic. Uh, Both at the office and at home, how do you think integrity impacts the loyalty of those that report to you or follow you and come on this same mission with you?
Yeah, I think that it's again, like I said before, I think it starts at home. So it's like whatever way I treat my wife and my daughter, that's also the way I want to treat my employees for the most part. And so for our team, I think the biggest thing that I have learned is it, it's so easy, and I fell in this trap. When I first started in business, is like somebody was coming to work for me because they needed to fulfill my mission of like growing the business. But really, like I've switched it all. So now I ask my team, like, what are your goals? I want to know what your 5-year goals are. And then my goal now is to grow the business so they can hit those goals. So it's not about growing the business for business sake. It's like I said, with the employee, I'm like, I got to pay him his biggest paycheck ever that he's ever had in his entire life. So I want to be able to do that over and over and over again and help them achieve their goals. And that little tiny switch is like, I do stuff to help out my wife because I want our lives to be better. I do stuff to help out my daughter because I want her to grow. But so often, being out of integrity, it's really easy to just not do that with the team and be like, you're here to serve me and my purpose and my business and make more money for me. But that doesn't work. And I think the team picks up on that. So really just being after the point of helping the team achieve their goals, because if they achieve their goals, they're for sure going to help you achieve yours. There's no doubt about it. And I think that little switch has been so probably the key component to me as a leader. That's changed everything inside of my business.
Yes, that for sure is a paradigm shift. And listeners and those queuing in on this hear that difference. And if you act on that difference, it makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been huge. It's just the way the team shows up, the gratitude they express inside the office, the way they interact with our clients that we get to take care of. It's all different because it becomes bigger than just being about me.
Yes. Yeah. Well, kudos to you for recognizing, implementing that, and adhering to it and sticking with it for sure. Tell me something. When you think about integrity in your life, there must have been a moment or a time, an interaction where the counterparty that you were working with was lacking integrity. Can you share an example of what happened, and without breaching any confidences, obviously, what happened,
Yeah, of course.
how the
Yep.
fallout went?
Yeah, I think that, man, there's so many times I think that these happen. I've tried to be a lot better about forgiveness. I think that's a key component in being in integrity as well. But outside of that, I was really, this is like the hardest question for me too. When I was looking through the questions, I'm like, man, what stories could I think of? But the one I think that sticks out to me the most is when I was early on in practice, I had a guy come in and he got really, really good results. Like his back pain was gone, his acid reflux was gone. And he basically came to me on the side and he was like, hey, I know there's got to be a deal where I can just pay you like cash under the table and like, let's make it half. And then you can avoid the taxes. And this guy had a pretty big business. And, like I got what he was saying, but I was just unwilling to entertain that because for me, it was just out of integrity. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not just going to do like a cash thing on the side for you. And he's like, I know so many people I could refer you if you did that. And I'm like, yeah, but that just creates a whole heap of issues for me. And so, it broke the relationship that he and I had built, where still haven't talked to him. And, but it also strengthened my conviction to just do what's right. And we've all heard this a million times. It's like, it's always the right thing to do what's right, even when it's difficult. And for me, that was one of those, like, it seems like an insignificant, tiny moment, where I probably could have made more money, and a lot of it would have been cash and tax free, but I was just unwilling to like do that with him. And then there's a whole thing, you get into the insurance conversation. In our world, I don't do insurance, but then, you talk about fee splitting. There's just all these legalities that happen, and it's all out of integrity. So ended up, we just had to part ways, and that's what it was. Which is fine. But it was like, especially early, as my first 6 months in practice, it could have been very easy to be like, oh, this will just help sustain us. But being unwilling to compromise on the standards that we have for our lives and our business.
Yeah, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing, is it?
Nope, never.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
100%.
that. I love what you were echoing there. Tell me, we have a lot of younger listeners that are starting out their careers, their businesses, they're getting their launch. When you think about the things that helped you in retrospect, boy, I wish I knew that then, what I know now. What are some of those insights and tips you might share with those younger listeners as they're, setting out on their path professionally and personally?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was making sure that I stayed true to who I was and what my values were. I have a very unique population of clientele where a lot of them are like very, very high level business owners, way bigger than ours, in a variety of different industries. And, some of them I become friends with, but then it's almost like, because they're so successful, I'm like, I want to do it like them, or I need to do it like them. And for the first like year and a half, 2 years of practice, I really it was like I was trying to be someone else and just trying to do exactly what they did, but not realizing that like each of us has our own unique path that's different. So I think that success leaves clues for sure. But I think more of what it comes down to is like the whole point of this podcast in the first place is that when you can come from a place of integrity, and you being integrous to who you are and who you were created to be, like nobody can take that away from you. And as soon as I start trying to be somebody else, that copycat thing will get you to a certain point. But then it's almost like everything has to break down to rebuild it up if you want to go further. And that's what I see. A lot of people just aren't passionate because like they're trying to copy someone else. So I think that's a big thing, is just be true to who you are. And like, if people think you're crazy or they tell you it won't work, just surround yourself with people who are going to like, it can work. I promise you, I'll be the shiniest example of like how it can work when everybody told you that it couldn't. And I'm not smarter than a lot of people. So that's the first thing, is just be integrous with who you are and who you were called to be. And it doesn't have to look like what anybody else has done. The other thing I would say is now, especially for young listeners, and I don't know how this will sit with you specifically, Ralph, but you like use AI to your advantage, because there is so much there that you can train it to do for you that makes life, I think, exponentially more easy, and almost even more easy to figure out who you are as a person. So use the tools that we have available to us instead of being resistant to them, I think would be another big one.
Yes, AI is we're taking more and more steps with the application of AI, or figuring out how to apply AI in our professional and personal lives here at the office for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yes, I have a saying, and I'm an old timer in some ways, but after 40 years of practice, I'm halfway through, so I'll get this right sooner or later. What's interesting with AI is just how many different places we can apply it.
Mm-hmm.
There's endless applications,
Yep. 100%.
and
And I think, yeah, and a simple example would be, I have a friend who has no follow-up sequence for his business. And I was like, dude, I'll build you out a follow-up sequence in 20 minutes. And so I had AI do it for me, and I custom tailored it so he has and made a spreadsheet for him and all this stuff. And it took me 20 minutes to do. But it's like if people say they don't know where to start or they don't know what to do, I'm like, you can't. You with AI, you literally can't use that as an excuse anymore.
Right.
So
No excuses there at all. Yeah, and as long as we stay, even as old timers, as long as we stay green, we can keep growing. It's when we start ripening, we begin to rot, and there's no space for that. We just stay green and consistently grow. And I love the energy you bring to the table, Doctor. So we've been having a wonderful conversation here with Dr. Daniel Kimbley of Nexus Family Chiropractic. The office in Dana Point as well.
yep, offices in Dana Point. Yeah, right on PCH.
Fantastic. Well, one of the things is we're kind of rounding the corner here and getting ready to wrap up. If folks want to get in touch with you, Doctor, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say best way right now to get in touch with me is just find me on Instagram. It's at Dr. Daniel Kimbley, and you can just message me if you say, "Hey, I heard you on the Integrity podcast. I will. We can have a conversation there. I'm happy to. It's me. There's no AI. I'm the only one who runs it. So that's the best way to get in contact with me.
All right, fantastic. Well, it's been a delightful conversation, Doctor. I'm really glad we had this time together. It's flown by so quickly. I thank you so much for coming on, and you're a delight to be with and a delight to spend time with. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for the time, Ralph. I appreciate it. It's been an awesome
You're,
time.
you're so welcome, and thanks for being on the Power of Integrity podcast, where leadership aligns with principles. And Dr. Daniel Kimbley, you're an excellent example of that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
The information presented in this program is provided for informational purposes only. The information is believed to be reliable, but no guarantee of accuracy is made or implied. Expressions of opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult a legal or tax professional if investing involves risks, including possible loss of capital. Ralph Adamo is registered with the securities and are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA. SIPC 6451 North Federal Highway, Suite 1201, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33308. Telephone number 954-782-4771. Investment advisory services are offered through Kovac Advisors, Inc. Integrity Wealth Management is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc.